Welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. A lot of you probably remember this Ford Flex that was in the other day with the EVAP problems and the small EVAP leak there we diagnosed as the capless system here. Well, I've got the new fuel tank filler from Ford, $309 worth of it. So we're gonna take and see what it takes to pull this old one out and get this thing fixed and get the check engine light turned off and get this lady back on the road. I guess first thing first, we got to get to where we can even see it. It's inside this inner fender, so we'll take and pop all this garbage out of here. Get the mud flap off. And looks like just a bunch of couple screws and a bunch of plastic clips, and we should have this thing out of here. We can see what we're working with, because I've never done one, so we'll find out what it entails. So I've got these little push retainers, and these things can be a real pain. So I don't know if you guys have seen these or not, but these are the ones that take the Phillips head. And if you use a Phillips head, it just doesn't work because these get full of dirt and crap like that. And you can't really push in on them, you know, to keep your screwdriver engaged. So what I found is this, you know, this tiny flathead, you know, that goes into these things and locks into them real good, because it allows you to turn it without using any pressure, if that makes sense. Or really, really piss poor design. Because like I say, you almost got to kind of very lightly and gently touch these to screw them out. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I see them on a lot of different stuff. It's not just Ford only, but the worst part is when you start turning it, if the whole fastener turns, then you just grab them with a pair of side cutters, and a lot of times you can hold on while you try to turn them, but looks like that's all this inner fender is held on with is these things. Couple little regular push ones up there, but like I say, if you hold any inward pressure on these, all they do is just simply spin. They don't come out. Landed right in my pocket. Well, there it is. It's a fresh air part of our canister there. You know, crusty filler neck running up through there. Comes with all this crap, so I don't think anything holds it in up at the top. I think it just kind of sits in there. So go underneath it here and see if we can't get this baby unhooked and fish it out of there. Looks like we got one bolt right here. I don't think there's any other ones. Let's see if this will come loose. Nice. Well, that's not too bad. I guess we just gotta unhook it from the fuel tank here. Which that could suck because it's got a quick connect fitting on it. So that quick connect I'm talking about is that little white thing right there with that black and white thing with the metal pipe going into it. A little metal pipe's part of the fuel filler neck, and it's looking pretty angry. So that should be a treat. That's gonna be hard to film too, just FYI. That's where the fuel filler neck hooks on. So I'm gonna be reaching up there. I'm gonna unhook that. I'm gonna unhook the aluminum vent hose there, which is kind of hard to see, but I think so. It's that hose there to the left. I'll be reaching up in there, unhooking that. Some of the stuff I'm not gonna be able to film naturally because this is all-wheel drive, and you can see how crammed that is under there. Once that filler pipe there goes over top of the rear suspension stuff, it's pretty hard to get to. So I'll do my best. Clamps loose. Hose is off. Got that hose off. So we've got the filler neck unhooked. We've got the the vent pipe here unhooked. All I've got left is this vapor line here. That's gonna be a problem. You can see it's a push connect. It's got the plastic over it, but up in there it's super rusty. You can't even really get to it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna reach up in there with a pair of cutters. I'm gonna try to lop it off like back in here. Hopefully I can get it down to where we can spray it and work it and fiddle with it to get it unhooked instead of trying to do it up above the suspension because frankly I just can't even get to it. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna record it. But I got a big pair of chompers and hopefully I can get up in there and get it off. Much better. Well, you can see that's not going as planned. The filler neck is very tight here above the subframe, and then looks like the trunk or whatever, your spare tire. So I'm going to take in the rear subframe is all one modular assembly, it appears, so there shouldn't be any harm in letting it down a little. So I say we loosen up the rear subframe bolts, assuming they come out. Maybe let this back end down, just try to gain an inch. See what happens. I would have thought they would have dropped down on us a little bit. I think it's just the 4 bolts. I don't see anything else right offhand that's holding it, so I'm gonna grab a little screwdriver and see if we can wiggle that down a little bit and go from there. The shocks what's holding us, because they're not part of the subframe. That one's I got looking over, and that's why it's kind of springy like this. We don't really have a choice. I mean, that thing it's obviously not going to come out of there, so we're going to have to unhook at least this shock, kind of let this side of the subframe down a little bit, and we've got no choice. But another foolish design. You got to pull the sway bar link off, take the shock off, and all that hoopla. It's quite a bit more room. I think I'm going to remove this bracket on the front because I want more room yet. See if we can just tip this subframe down a smidge. One thing we got to be careful of now is our brake hose. I see it's starting to get a little bit tight. I don't want to go any further without pulling the caliper and stuff off. However, got it. Oops. That was easy. Well, we've made a little bit of progress. I need to walk away from this job for a while. I've got a bunch of other appointments that are showing up now. You guys won't know the difference, but figured I'd tell you. I've taken what I've done in the meantime is that metal pipe that I had to cut because it's so rusty. I just took and sprayed her with the good stuff. Hopefully that'll help. It's in a heck of a spot. I can barely get my hand above the subframe even with it down, and I'd hate to have to remove the whole stupid subframe. I dramatically misquoted this job because I went off Ford suggestions off their flat rate, which is way off. Just FYI, if you do one of these, they obviously don't have a provision for all-wheel drive, and just for the heck of it, I did look up the procedure on an all-wheel drive, or through Ford in general. They don't specify all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive, although clearly there is a difference because the directions that I have put out by Ford are pretty simple. Remove the fender liner like we did, unhook the bolts and take the filler neck out. There was no mention of the subframe being in the way or being pressed right tight against the filler pipe, so obviously there is some discrepancies there, which kind of suck now because it set my day way behind, and my other appointments are showing up. So I'll be on the other side getting some of that stuff done. It'll only be a moment for you, but it's probably gonna be late this afternoon before I get back on this. So see you in a second. Alright viewers, I'm back. So here's what I've decided. I've got to, I can't remember 100% where we left off. I think the filler neck's out. We've got to get the little metal pipe that I cut. We've got to get that out of the plastic line now. I've got the rear end sitting down on a stand. You can see it's got the brake hose tight, parking brake cable's tight. So I'm going to unhook those, and then I'm going to try to work here up above the subframe to get that broken pipe out. I'll raise it up a little. Like I said, I can see quite a bit through here now, but that thing's going to be a pain in the neck, and I want to try to get enough room for that. So this is above the subframe. That's the fuel inlet there for the filler neck. This is the piece I had to cut, and you know, you can see that it's, you know, super crusted in there, and this is what I got to fiddle with to try to get that out without ruining that plastic fitting. That's what that looks like. It's quite a mess. We see this quite a bit with plastic quick disconnects and, you know, and steel lines. The problem is that steel line will swell up like down inside the plastic part of the fitting, and then when you pull it out, you know, all the O-rings and all the crap come with it, which, you know, which is fine. We can stuff them back in there. Like I say, I sprayed this before I walked away to go do the other stuff. Well, it's past lunchtime now, and I've got to get this thing finished and get it out of here, because this turned into quite a bit more of a project than I initially anticipated. See if I can't hold it. The spray's been soaking on there for quite a while. See if we can't get it to at least rotate. Usually you can get them to rotate, you can start busting that rust out of there. And that's what this one's doing. It's starting to rotate, so that's good. Get a little bit more spray up on it. So that's always my habit with stuff like this. Usually you cut it off so you can get it out of the way, so you can, and this is what I'm using to grab a hold of the plastic line, so we don't crush it. It's hard to see, especially my arm in the way, but I guess it's probably more important I get this loose than anything. Okay, so now that I've got it rotating good, I'm gonna try to release that white clip, and we'll see if we can't start working it up out of there. I think this, yeah. I don't know if this is one of the ones that you push in. You know, if you push in on the big white piece, or if you unclip it and push them out. I'm not sure right offhand. I guess we can try it both ways. I'm going to cover up this filler neck, get a blow nozzle. I'm going to blast some of the rust out of there. It doesn't really appear to be moving. This is crusty. See if I can reach up with a screwdriver and maybe pull that white clip out. Hey, there we go. It slid out on one side anyways. Oh, it's just such a pain. Grab a flashlight for you guys. I don't know if you guys can see or not. Hopefully. So I did get the white clip to pop out. I'll kind of show you what that looks like in case you're facing this yourself doing these. Get this where you guys can see it. The strap's right in the way. So that white clip just kind of pulls down like that. I got that pried out of there with a screwdriver. And now we'll see if we can't just, oh, look at that, sweet victory. That is awesome. So there it is, there's our line. A little bit of screwing around, we're able to get that out of there. That could have been 100 times worse. So that didn't come out too awful bad. I've definitely had ones that fought more. And our quick connect there is still in good shape. So that's good. And I think the wise idea here was to definitely let the subframe down, you know, take that brake hose and crap off, you know, so we can get in here and work. And good, thankfully. Wow, it's awesome. You didn't think we'd go a whole video without parts cleaner, did you? So what I'm gonna do is just the plastic hose that was on this little guy right here, I'm just gonna tip it down, kind of hose it out in case any of this rust or any of the junk got in there. That way when we stick our new one in, I'll probably spray it with like a little bit of fluid film to keep this from rusting. Because you can see, well, obviously, if you remember just you know, a few seconds ago, seeing how big and scaly and crappy that was inside that connector, you know, it doesn't so much build up where it seals, which it does just a little bit, but it also builds up on the outside of the connector too, which makes it a pain. I've never had to walk away from a job so many times. I've done like a dozen different things today. So anyhow, I think we left off cleaning out that hose there. So I'm just gonna spray it with some fluid film to lubricate the O-rings in there. I'm gonna grab the new filler neck. Well, we've got the subframe drop down. I'm gonna get that slid in there, get that all hooked up. Get this cat back off here. Be a whole lot easier, but well, I tell you what, if I do another one of these, I'll know how to quote it next time. There. Okay. It's not too bad once you get the, you know, once you get the frame down. You can actually reach up above it and get stuff hooked up. I imagine it's probably how the two-wheel drive is, but nobody around here has two-wheel drive anything, so I would think that the two-wheel drive would still have a rear engine or a rear engine cradle, rear subframe. So maybe I'm way wrong. Maybe they don't even make the Flex two-wheel drive. I don't know. I thought they did. Great. So I've got all those connections made. The tank's hooked up. The small one's hooked up. I pushed the white clip back in. And then our aluminum vent line there is now also hooked up. So basically we just got to kind of start putting this back together. And what sucks is now I've got to get a wheel alignment done. And it's not something I originally quoted, but that's just a fact of life. I can't, you know, consciously let this go without having had a wheel alignment, because we've had this whole rear cradle loose and we can have it in there all cattywampus. I mean, it should be relatively close, but better safe than sorry. We're just going to double check it and make sure it is good. some of this stuff put back together here. Probably the smartest thing to do, just get the shock bolted back in. Nah, because that was kind of holding the subframe where it needed to be. Get that done, and then we'll bolt subframe back in and get this thing done. So you can see on all the rust ring that it leaves around it, you can see where it was originally. And I'd like to set the mounts back exactly where they were, because assuming this was in line before we started, that's going to make our process 100 times easier. So I'll just get all the bolts restarted in it, snug the subframe back up. We're pretty much done. You know, changing a filler neck is, you know, pretty much a piece of cake. Good old rust. You guys that live down south, you got it made in the shade, man. Of course, if things don't rust out, I don't know what you fix, but I would say, at least, you know, besides oil changes, the majority of my work comes from rust. You know, a lot of people really kind of gripe about the salt and stuff we have, but I don't know, the salt has provided my family with a pretty good living, because, you know, cars keep breaking, and that's good. That's what we want. just clicks onto the fuel filler neck. Just the thing that said Easy Fuel. Looks like it's got 3 little alignment things on there and some clips. We probably should have pulled that off first. I didn't know anything about it. Oh well. No harm, no foul. Really nothing much to see there. It sticks through, and I think the seal here is supposed to seal it all off. Maybe in Wonderland Ford. At any rate, I emailed Mitchell on Demand, who displays all the factory Ford data, just to make sure that I'm not a lunatic and I didn't miss something on the all-wheel drive. I don't think that I did, but they're going to look up in the factory Ford website for me, which technically is what we have, you know, through Mitchell on Demand, and make sure to see if there's any other process. I just went through and read all the factory steps, and it never says nothing about removing, you know, the subframe or letting it down or anything. It just says remove the wheel liner, a couple screws, and 1-2 barbecue, and book time is only 1.3 hours, which is kind of pushing it. So we'll see what they respond and what they say. I've got some useless knowledge. The little screw plastic push retainer, it has a name. Scrivets. They call them scrivets. That must be because it's half screw, half rivet. I never knew that. Maybe you guys did. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall some of the scrivets. And I'm going to call them that from this point forward in all my videos. I wonder why they use 3 regular ones at the top. The non-scrivet type, you know. And then screws. There's a plethora of fasteners on the inner fender. Remember, safety third. So there's what it looks like on the inside. Told you guys we were going to dissect it. So we'll see if we can't flick it open here. This is the kind of funnest part about the whole job. So there's our little flapper, and there's what it has to seal against. Basically it's just plastic, and it appears that they definitely make it out of some kind of crap metal. You know, there's all the spring and all that hoopla, which we really don't need. Let me just get that out of our way. Alright, got that pin spring, but it looks like, see that? That is a little rubber seal around that thing. And it appears that the seal is maybe impregnated around the, this little cast aluminum bit here. It definitely feels like aluminum. You can tell by the way it's all corroded and crappy. And must be just all the junk and everything gets on it, or the aluminum starts to swell up, not allowing it to sit square. Let me see. So yeah, so there's the inlet. There's the back side again, in case you wanted to see what it looked like. Not much to it. Pretty simple mechanism. However, as simple as this is, it's not as simple as the gas cap. And that's where I think they went wrong on this. And these little, let me get this little latch thing off here. So the latch, so when you put your fuel filler nozzle in here, you've got to depress those little dongers there on the side. There's two little things. Remember in the first video we used a pair of pliers. So what that does is that just pushes, you can see I'm pushing with my thumb there, that little catch. Well, there's one of those on each side. And what they catch against is this little groove in the aluminum. So there's one on each side there. So when that closes, it catches on those little plastic things. Yeah. So when you put it in from the back side, that's what this looks like. All put together. There's a little flapper, and from the back side, that's all you got. Kind of stupid, really, because realistically, if those catches got some aluminum, debris and crap in there, so they couldn't hook good, well, it's not going to seal it right. So it's an all-around crappy design. Hey, look, it's like a boomerang. It came right back to me. Maybe I'll give it to the customer. She can throw it. You can see, regardless, even if you did the whole Ford fuel filler neck service, which, I like Brian. I like his videos and all, but that's really stupid. Oil change, that's on my list. Spark plugs, air filters, fuel filters, all that stuff's on my list. Going back there once a month with a blow nozzle and some spray and then doing the deal that you got to do with this. Well, that's not on my maintenance list. But you can see that this thing was getting pretty crusty and crappy anyways. So it was only a matter of time before we had some other EVAP codes. And, you can see what the rust does. It's no good. Makes things pretty vulnerable, pretty weak. Can break apart. There. We looked at it, we fixed it, we diagnosed it. What a pain in the neck. I'm still waiting for the, I won't end this video until I get the email back from Mitchell, who's getting it from the Ford Motor Company to see, but the guy at Mitchell claims that there is no difference between a two-wheel drive and an all-wheel drive, and the directions, unless I'm like, having a really off day, I see no way to get that out of there with the subframe in. I mean, without a hole, unless that baby's like a super puzzle piece, I don't see how in the heck that would have come out of there, because it was tight like a tiger. So that's it. All right, viewers, it's about 6:30 at night. I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm sick of waiting around for an email, and I've got all the rest of my work done. Well, some of it anyways. Still working on yanking the heads off the Subaru here. Wanted to get that done, but had about a million other things to do. So I did, like I think I mentioned, it's been quite a while. Early this afternoon around 2 o'clock, I sent in the request to Mitchell to have the factory data sent to me about the Ford to see what the deal is with, not being able to get that filler neck out of there. And the guy I spoke to, let me see here, I saved our conversation. His name was Sean. He said he sent it out to his research department and they would contact me within 45 minutes. It's been hours. So I'm giving up and just gonna stick with the facts. We know how it comes out of there now. I think they're obviously different than two-wheel drive models. I may be entirely wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe it does come out of there somehow, but I wasn't seeing it. But like I say, I could be way wrong. Regardless, I think dropping the subframe in the back was the right choice. because that one line was so rusty. I mean, it's hard to shoot the camera angles and work around it too, but it's tight. Like, you could barely get up in there to do what you need it to do, and I can usually finagle some tools around to do what I have to, but that one, the suck factor was about a 7, and it only goes to 10, so that kind of gives you an idea as to what that's all about. But it's done, it's fixed, the alignment's all fixed, which wasn't out that much, so that was a good thing, and I was happy about that. But it was just kind of some unforeseen stuff big time, especially when you look at the flat rate and you see it's like, oh, this will only take about an hour, 3 hours later. But that's that. So thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing. If you haven't yet, please consider it, so you'll stay up to date with our latest publications we put out, several times a week. We appreciate that. Check us out on Facebook and Google Plus if you haven't already, and you can like us there. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. So thanks for watching.